girl, Quincy. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another. Hi, Coco. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Hey, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. I'm here with my co-host Rico, Levi, our deaf bulldog, and Quincy, our Rottweiler, who is foraging right next to us. Got a couple foraging items out next to me that I'll be providing throughout this next hour of this episode. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Carrie. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Kim. So for those that are new, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center where we teach people across the world about living, loving, learning with animals using approaches in applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement. And we do that through our live streaming services. You can find out more about what we do on our website, which is theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Hey, Nancy, good morning. Morning, Chris, Lee, Bobby. There's a bunch of people in here. Tim, Barbara. Good. So today we're going to talk about separation anxiety, and we're currently talking about this in our membership programs. And I want to talk about a couple of different things before we go into it. But separation anxiety is very deep, and it's very individualized. And this is why in our membership, our online membership program, we've been talking about this for 3 months. There's been 3 podcasts on it, and that is on purpose because it is that specific and that detailed. So, but before we go there, I just wanted to say a couple of things. I've just lost my co-host, or he's going to go up and do some somersaults for us. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Got my mug with me this morning. A couple of things I want to say before we get started. First of all, I'll dedicate this episode of Coffee with the Critters to Quincy, our Rottweiler, who's sitting here foraging right next to me, because tomorrow she is going to be 5 years old. And today is actually my sister's birthday. So happy birthday to Dina, if she makes it on here. Good morning, Sylvia. Something else I want to say, because it's going to affect our future episodes. Tomorrow, for those of that have been following, Sam, the blind, blue-fronted Amazon, 23 years old, that I will be adopting from a Helping Wing rescue out in New Jersey. I'm going to go pick him up next month, but his surgery is tomorrow. So I'll be posting on my Facebook pages about Sam's surgery and letting everybody know how he's doing. He's going to be coming here. He's a fully flighted 23-year-old Amazon who has lost his vision, and he's going to be having his other eye removed tomorrow because it just doesn't need to be. It's causing him some medical issues where he's having to be medicated. So he's already had one eye removed. Why not just remove the other one? So that is with Jeannie and John Gilligan out in Blairstown, New Jersey. Yep. So Sam's surgery is tomorrow. Quincy's birthday is tomorrow. Something I want to say about next week's Coffee with the Critters. I'm not sure when it's going to be because I will be in Utah, heading back out to Best Friends Animal Society. They have contacted me and asked me to come back, and they want me to train their staff. So I am extremely happy to do so. So watch for my live streams. I'll be flying out there Friday, and I'll be there until next Wednesday. So if you've never been or seen Best Friends Animal Society, it's a pretty amazing place with numerous different divisions. I know Sylvia. I was out there and you were out there this past April. They have a parrot garden, they have Dogtown, they have the wildlife division, they have their pigs, their horses, rabbits, cats. They pretty much they cover a lot of bases. So I'll be live streaming out there, probably starting next Friday. Something else I want to talk about real quick. I just want, for those of you that follow and may or may not know, Karen, our manager, has been in the hospital for the past 2 weeks, and she's having a really tough road on recovery. So, yeah, keep her in your thoughts and maybe give her a shout out on her Facebook timeline. She'd probably really appreciate that. But we wish her good health and get back here soon, because the animals are definitely missing her. All right. With that being said, anything else new coming up? Got an article for Bird Talk due this Wednesday. Barks from the Guild due the beginning of the month. I got a Montreal workshop coming up, 2 days in Montreal on abnormal repetitive behaviors. And other than that, nothing new. Good morning, everybody. Was that you, Levi? So he's sitting here with Levi as my co-host. Levi's our deaf bulldog. Not really sure what he's waiting for. Maybe just some love. I'll take it. What a lover he is. Yeah. Wait. So anyways, okay, let's get started about our topic. And we're going to talk about separation anxiety. And this is not, like I said, a lot of people, there's a lot of advice out there, and a lot of that I would not give. So separation anxiety comes in many different forms and can be seen in many different animals. Who in here thinks they're dealing with a case of separation anxiety? There's a couple of different cases here. We have a big case here, and I've been working with this animal for 12 years. Some levels of separation anxiety, the more intense, the longer the history of reinforcement, meaning the longer it's happened without intervention, it's more than likely going to be maintenance. Meaning it's not going to go away, but there are those distant antecedents where we can watch for. This case of separation anxiety I'm talking about that I first started working with 12 years ago is a resident here at the Animal Behavior Center, and here I am 12 years later, and I'm still working with it. So sometimes it doesn't go away, and I want to go into the different reasons we're going to talk today about. I define it. We're going to talk about what it looks like, and I want you guys, it'd be great if you guys interact as well. Throw shout outs as I'm talking about something. Like I know a couple different people on here. Quentin, Lori says they're both dealing, Kelly is dealing with separation anxiety. They have a case of separation anxiety. Eva says she has a couple of them. We have a couple of them here as well, and they come in different levels, different intensities. But I also want to talk about what they look like across the species, things not to do, what to do. So I'm not going to tell you what not to do. I definitely need to tell you what to do. The causes and some precautions we can take. And I would love it if this was very interactive. You guys talk with each other, interact with me as well. Barbara says, us too, it's bad. Yeah. And Barbara's in level 1, but we were talking about this in the Parrot project. I definitely think Daisy has some separation anxiety. And I think it's pretty intermediate to, I don't want to say intense. There's things we can do to change this, all right? Mary says, I'm not sure, never have, but I have an umbrella I just received. It could be possible. Okay, let's talk about what it is and what it looks like across species. So I know Sylvia's in here. Sylvia is a dog trainer. And Mary says, that's why you're here. So Sylvia says she's working with a couple of mild cases. So Sylvia, I'd love for you to interact anyways, in any way you can. Also, just to let you guys know, I have the option to bring you on live with me this morning. So if anybody is here that wants to come on live, just say, I want to come on with you. And I'll send you the link and get you on here. So the reason I picked these photos, hey Elaine, is because as a practitioner of applied behavior analysis, I am always watching. Like even when I'm doing this live stream, I'm paying attention to what's happening behind me. I'm always watching. I'm always listening to see what is that behavior I'm looking at. Because you guys have heard me say before, we're always training. And there's different, if you guys remind me, there's different things we do here and in different rooms to keep an eye on separation anxiety when I walk out. Yep, Daphne is on here as well, who's a dog trainer as well, and she gave a shout out to Melina De Martini. She deals with separation anxiety, specifically with dogs. But okay, so let's start with defining. Speak of the devil. Yeah. Some of my best teachers are animals that have had separation anxiety. And it's not that the cases are hard. Why they're labeled hard a lot is because it takes planning, focus, attention, creation. Nice job, Rico. And a plan of action. Bear with me. And we went into detail on this in our membership programs because it doesn't have to be hard, okay? It takes a lot of shaping. Let's first define what it is, what it looks like. So there's a reason I picked, what, Rocky? There's a reason I picked these photos because separation anxiety, the dog on the right, what is it looking at and what is it doing after you leave? The birds on the left, the reason I picked these is because separation anxiety, think of what, Rock? Separation anxiety isn't necessarily doesn't happen when a person leaves, but it can happen when two animals are separated. Hence the reason we're always making sure our dogs are used to change. Peekaboo. Okay, so what is separation anxiety? When I'm looking for is any sign of stress, which can come in many forms. When the animal is alone, when the animal is it peekaboo? Do those signs show up when a certain person is gone? And this, Barbara, this is why I'm focusing. I think this may be with you with Daisy. When a certain person is gone, are those signs still there, or do they show up when another animal is gone? Does the animal show signs of being calm when just anybody is around? Another animal. Peekaboo. I could show you some right here, right now. I'm not sure it will happen, but I can show you what I'm looking for. So our most intense case of separation anxiety is not him. But I did see some signs of stress with him here. I've got my eyes on him. And I want to pay attention to what you guys are talking about too. A couple of the most intense case we have here is Rocky, our 20-year-old Moluccan cockatoo, the one saying peekaboo in the background, okay? And he is the one, when he came here, hi, I also want to talk about shelters. So let me write this down too. Shelters and rescues. Hi. Rocky was my most intense case, but let's take away the actual species of the animal and get that out of your mind and instead focus on the behaviors. That's exactly what I do. Is the species important? Sure. What I do here is focus on behaviors. Hi. So what I'm looking for and what Rocky would do is, and here's how I started defining what exactly am I working with here. When I brought Rocky home, and Quentin, let's talk about that. There's different things you can do if you're away from home. And a lot of people get really stressed out about this and probably contribute to the stress of the separation anxiety. And animals can easily pick up on that, very easily pick up on that, because you guys hear me say animals are paying attention more so to our behaviors, what we're doing, our body language, more so than what exactly is coming out of our mouth. So there's different things we can do that can trigger this, different cues that we give. So any signs of stress when the animal is left alone or without a certain animal or a certain person, okay? And with Rocky, and like I said, I'm going to go through a couple different species. With Rocky, our Moluccan cockatoo, this is what I looked for. Now just pay attention to the behaviors, not necessarily the species. So it was my husband and I living at home, and Rocky was with us. He would scream once every 3 seconds for 2 to 3 hours on end. And that happened, why? If my husband was in the room, and especially if my husband left the room. What I started seeing was when he left the room, the behavior really intensified, the screaming, and he would do this flipping inside of his cage. He came to us with a couple of different abnormal repetitive behaviors. When Freddie would come back into the room, the screaming would stop. So I'm just sitting here observing this, and I was like, all right, when does it happen? When doesn't it happen? It happens when Freddie leaves the room. It stops when Freddie comes back in the room. So what I'm sitting there doing is identifying a reinforcer. And I highly suggest, if you're working with separation anxiety, you keep a journal and start documenting. When is it happening? When isn't it happening? Because, nice job, Rico. When you do that, you're now on your way to identifying reinforcers behind the separation anxiety. There's Jenny in here. We talked about this in my consultation. Yeah, Jenny is, Jenny, I believe you're a level 1 member too. Maybe not, but definitely in the Parrot project. When is it happening? When isn't it happening? So, but Freddie would walk back into the room. The screaming would stop. So there I'm like, there's something going on here with Freddie. And then, but it would start again after Freddie was in the room for a period of time. If Freddie were to go, pick Rocky up and get him out of his cage, he's probably contributing to some of that and reinforcing all of that. So if Freddie goes and gets Rocky out of his cage, we're also getting into other behaviors. But this is pretty intense, especially in the parrot community. And all three of my cockatoos are sitting here paying attention to me. And I'm like, why is this? We're going to start talking about it in dogs as well. But I'm like, here's some things. And this is what I talked about. I don't know, Sylvia, if you were in my presentation out at Best Friends when I talked about this at PPG, for PPG, Pet Professional Guild. And I was just like, in the area of working with birds, breeding behaviors, it is not uncommon for the parents to lay the eggs and the breeder takes the eggs and pulls them immediately. I think there's a turkey vulture at the other end of my door. Take those eggs immediately, and those chicks are hatched and never see their parents. They imprint on people. Well, guess what? I was just like, why is that common in the parrot world, but it would not be stood for in the dog world? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't have. It creates a lot of behavior issues. So now you have, if this were common, it wouldn't be common in the dog world. If people were to find out this was happening in the puppy world, there would be a big outrage. But yet it's still happening in the parrot world. That sets the people, I feel, up for failure, because now you have this imprinted bird that wasn't taught how to be a bird by its parents. And I think that leads to a lot of behavior issues. Separation anxiety, definitely. Screaming, hi. Feather destructive behaviors, self-injurious behaviors, especially after medical reasons have been ruled out. Those are common. There's a lot of abnormal repetitive behaviors. So Sylvia says, puppies would be screwed up, causing so many behavior issues for the future of that dog, right? Let's define what some of separation anxiety looks like. And Sylvia and Daphne, if you're in here, feel free to post on here some different things. So with dogs, something I look for is, and there's a difference between separation anxiety and boredom. Destruction, like you leave a house, now I'm going to go back to the dogs. You leave a house and you come home and the place is destroyed, okay? Is that separation anxiety or is that boredom, okay? Lack of enrichment. There is definitely a difference. Okay, so some things I look for with dogs, heavy panting for long periods of time, maybe excessive licking and drooling. Levi is just by my side. Watch out for that. It's all about balance. Some other things I look for are excessive barking when I leave the room. You guys want me to show you what I look for? Because I look for it and I listen to it. Sylvia says frustration behaviors. You can have, it can be like maybe excessive nail biting, excessive licking. If you were to put a dog in the crate, something I look for, broken teeth, a dog injuring itself while you're gone, and you come home and the dog has a new cut, scratch, something that's hurting itself while you're gone. Okay, good. Daphne says tension during pre-departure cues. So that's something we were talking about with the dog or the animals reading your behaviors, your body language. Hey, Melody. Hey, Jude. Jude, I'll see you next weekend. You give cues. you're getting ready to leave. All right. And a big one is this right here, your keys. You don't pick up, many people don't pick up their keys at any other time, but when they're ready to walk out of the room. Putting on your shoes could be a cue. And there's different ways to work around that. Quentin says, I leave the room, your EEK will scream. She's been better since I brought her home a few months ago, was much worse at her previous home. Okay, so those are things I'm watching for. I can try to open up that door and show you some of the things I watch for. Here, what I look for, and they're mild cases, but one is with Levi, our deaf bulldog. Another one I see a little bit with Quincy, and it's not necessarily when they're separated from each other. This is why, Snow's not out here with us. Sometimes, this is why I say keep the animal used to change. Quincy and Levi both came to me as puppies. And I was very intent on making sure they spent a lot of time away from each other, time alone, time being comfortable in a crate together, being comfortable in a crate separated, being comfortable in a crate while the other one is walking out the room. I do notice that, okay, so I want to put up here some things that Sylvia and Daphne are saying. Hang on. Destruction, exit, windows, door. Yeah, destruction at the doors and the windows. So Daphne also says time patterns of human behavior, weekday versus weekend. Yes, and you act different on the weekends and during the weekdays. Good point, Daphne. So a lot of times your behaviors on the weekend are much more relaxed. In the morning, on a Monday morning, what are we doing? Alarm clock goes off, making coffee. There's two cues already. There's two conditioned reinforcers, meaning those are paired with, those have an association with behavior that gives the animal the cue. You're getting ready to leave. There's your alarm clock. There is your making the coffee. Walking back to the bathroom, doing certain things in order, such as taking a shower, blow drying your hair. You probably walk at a faster pace around your house on a Monday morning than you would on a Saturday afternoon. Those are cues. Barking, Sherry says barking at windows excessively. Yeah, I was called to do a consult in Detroit with 2 dogs, and she was talking about the behavior. Thanks, Rock. The behavior of one dog is what I was called in for. When I got there, I said, your behavior issue is the other dog. It's not this one. And it was severe separation anxiety. Some things, let's define. Okay, so those are things you can look at for your dogs. Something I want to say as well with, what, Rock? Something I want to say as well is it can happen, and I've noticed it may not happen in this room, but it happens in a different room. I say that because we have several different rooms here, and these are things I watch for. Let me just see if this will happen, all right? This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I'm looking for in Levi, our deaf dog. Why don't you come over here? See? Nice. I believe the turkey vulture is on the other side of the door. I'm going to try to turn this around and show you what I'm looking for. This is very mild with Levi, but this is a cue that tells me, hey, lady, keep your eyes open on this. You might want to pay attention to this. Let me just see if the vulture's sitting right here. She's not. Okay. So And this is what I suggest you do. Get a camera. I'll show you the camera that we have, all right? Now watch my dogs when I leave. I'm focusing on Levi. I'm gonna go on the other side of this door and I'm gonna sit there and listen. Okay, it didn't happen. But I'll tell you, and I'm kind of glad, well, I'm glad it didn't happen. Because I've been working on it, but this is what I look for. What started happening is I leave the room. Hi, Rico. I leave the room and go into the training room or go into the center, and I will hear Levi barking. And a lot of times, he'll bark for maybe a minute. Big deal? No, but I don't want it to be a big deal. I don't want it to turn into a big deal. Something I noticed with Quincy is if she doesn't mind so much when I go out into the center, it's when she knows I'm in the training room and she can see the top of my head walking around, what I see in her, and I can tell these are signs that I look for, is I can tell. Those of you on Coffee with Critters usually don't get to see this side of the view. Okay, this is our training room. What I look for, she can see the top of my head in those windows. I will hear a whine, and when I come back in here, right here is dirty dog paw prints in excessive amounts right here. Those are signs I watch for. I'm just like, why is she doing this? And then so I start paying attention and watching her, and when it happens, when it doesn't happen. And I started paying attention to her and looking. The vocalizations weren't there in the beginning, but she's watching me in her, her forehead is pretty intense. Big deal? No, but I don't want it to turn into a big deal. Okay, Levi and Quincy are really good buddies. And they were raised together, and I try my hardest, and that is a concern for people who are having two puppies together. I try my hardest to keep them trained and used to being apart. And what I'll do here is sometimes Snow and Quincy come out with me for the day. Sometimes it's just Quincy. Sometimes it's just Levi. One dog is left in the house. One goes in the training room with the volunteers. That's just an example in my life how I can keep this mixed up. So I think, what else could I show you? Oh, something else I want to talk about is separation anxiety of two animals being apart. Because one of the toughest ones is the animal okay with anybody in the room? Is it just somebody? Where it gets tougher is when the animal shows separation anxiety to one person in particular. All right, that was Rocky and Freddie. Barbara, I think that's you and Daisy. Okay, those are the ones that take a little more extra attention when it's a specific, especially a caretaker, because I have to be here to care for you, and you have to be okay without me. Gosh, there's so many different. avenues I could take here. I just don't have enough time. So something with these two dogs, what I see is when, okay, I'm watching this. I'm watching this. There's a big cue right there. And I'm going to talk, because this is the next case I'm going to talk about, is the animals, these two. Quincy's okay if she sees me take Levi out of this room. When we're in the front of the house and she sees me take Levi out the front door, she will bark, whine, cry. She will pull down the blinds off the windows. All right. Those are things, that's a little more intense. But here I'm going to show you a case of, or I'm going to show you cues that I'm looking for. I don't know if you guys can tell. There's Coco, our 30-year-old umbrella cockatoo, on the ground right here. There's Quincy. All right. Coco, every time Quincy goes over there, I watch the behavior of Coco. See, we're getting some abnormal repetitive behaviors. There's stress right there that I'm looking for. Now watch this, okay? This is something else. This is something else I watch for, all right? I am going to take Quincy. Hey, guys. I'm going to take Quincy back over there. Can you guys see his behaviors? That is stress. Coco, I have identified, is becoming very attached to Quincy. Watch what happens when I take Quincy back over there. Listen to what Coco does when I take Quincy out of the room. Okay, hang on. Quincy. Okay, I expected Coco to go to the ground. What? See, I pay attention to that too. But a lot of times when QUI and CY is right there, look where Coco goes. Now listen to what Coco does when I walk out of the room, when I take Quincy out of the room. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to take Quincy out of the room. Listen to the behaviors. Come on, Quincy. Okay, come on. Okay, he went up to the top, and now he's up there doing his abnormal repetitive behavior, which is, that's more intense, because that's what he came to us doing. Hi, Rico. Those are, but something Coco didn't do, which I've been really paying attention to, is he did not scream. Usually when he sees Quincy start going to the door, he starts screaming, all right? What he did was go way up high, and it's probably because that he can see out in the center. He can see, where she's going. So that's telling me this is a potential issue. Does it happen with Levi? Does it happen with Quincy? Does it happen with Snow? Does it happen with me? Does it happen with any of the other volunteers? What I've noticed is it happens with Quincy, and he also does that when I leave the room. Something we do, like I said, there's different cases, what it looks like. What happens with Murray? Murray started getting very attached to Karen, the manager, and then it started happening with Sandy. And Murray's our green wing macaw in the back cage. And I just tell people, keep an eye on this. This is all about balance. Find where the animal is calm, and then start shaping it. In my, there's, how do I want to say this? Start by shaping calm. Well, you start where the animal's calm. Anyways, then you slowly start shaping redirection and duration in the absence of the person or animal where the separation, anxiety, behaviors happen. And then if we're using positive reinforcement training, which you're training on whether that animal can see, hear, or smell you anyways, if I'm the one doing the training, yet this animal is super already attached to me, there's different things I can do because my training with it keeps that bond very strong. Why would that animal want you to leave? All right? Animals can get very stressed when you leave. Some things we do here to change that is remote control training devices. All right? So the positive reinforcement in the form of food is coming from something else other than you. You're starting to establish and create independence. This is why we're so huge into enrichment here. Studies show that if you're actually using positive reinforcement training, it's the animal's preferred form of enrichment. We also focus a lot of our enrichment. I was going to try to put a percentage on it, but that's kind of tough. A lot of our enrichment is in the form of foraging, such as you guys have seen this. This is very basic, but we do foraging. So let's say Levi starts barking when I leave the room. I can redirect. Quincy, here. I can redirect by giving him, this is Quincy, not Levi. Levi can't hear. He's sleeping by my feet. I can redirect by doing something like this, taking the focus off of me, and then walk out of the room. The thing is you've got to shape that. You can quickly punish this behavior of interacting with the foraging device by pairing that with you leaving the room. Hi, Rico. This starts becoming a cue, and you'll see the behavior of the foraging start to stop because it's paired with you leaving the room. That's the cue. So then the foraging stops. Something we do here. And go! This is what I tell people here. This little dude is the absolute love of my life. All right. I love him so much that I don't want him so bonded with me that he is so stressed when I leave. Everybody says that Rico is a spoiled brat. He is a spoiled brat. What is a spoiled brat? The animal that gets positive reinforcers for just being cute without contingencies. Or no specific contingency. Okay? So I started having forms of separation anxiety develop when Rico had his accident. Another story. Anyways, so different forms, what separation anxiety can look like. I need to start paying attention to your comments. Yeah, Sylvia says, don't create a poison cue. Look at Levi. He just started learning this. I'm not sure he understands the contingencies. So this is what happens. Quincy will hit the bucket, get all the treats out, and Levi is not a contra freeloader. He's a freeloader. So there's Quincy. And then Levi just looks on the ground. Oh, hey, treats are falling from the sky. I need him to understand that, but I'll work on that. Okay, so Sylvia also says ditch the routines, create calmness protocol, feed out of foraging toys are very helpful. So something we did here, and I tell people, especially with parrots, an animal can come extremely bonded to one person. Some people think that's really cool, and like, I wouldn't come near me, or my dog's gonna attack you. I wouldn't come near me, or my bird's gonna bite you. Some people find pride in that. I would not, because what is going to happen is that animal is extremely stressed when you are gone. And life happens, guys. Life is not fair. Watch a wildlife documentary. Life is not fair. But you can prepare that animal for success. You can empower them, create that independence, and create the duration of that independence. Some things, what do we want to talk about first? Oh, what it looks like, what it can look like in some parrots. Excessive screaming for hours, very rhythmic behaviors, abnormal repetitive behaviors like this one. And he's doing that because Quincy's over here versus next to his cage. So we have a lot of foraging toys in his cage. You see that? Do you see? Those are the subtle signs that I watch for. Quincy started going near Coco's cage, and Coco's voice started changing. If Quincy goes over there, I guarantee you he's going to go to the ground. And Coco will take food, put it on the ground, and push it out the cage to lure Quincy in. So Quincy stays close. That's right, Rock. So some behaviors I look for in parrots are excessive screaming, pacing really fast, boom, 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 back and forth. You'll see that with Suki. We have parrots here that are over bonded to each other. I don't mind that. I like them to have a strong bond, but I want them to be comfortable when that other animal is not around. Something I look for is maybe something like this. I'm not saying he's not pacing as fast as he would, but when he's stressed, he'll pace really fast. Nervous twitches, like chewing on your nail, you know what I mean? And eyes getting really wide, the behavior becoming more what could be labeled as frantic. I look for those repetitive behaviors. I think a lot of feather destructive behaviors are due to separation anxiety. Feather plucking and self-injurious behaviors, mutilation, something I look for. Dogs. If I think I'm dealing with any form of separation anxiety, somebody tells me it's a case of separation anxiety, if they tell me that parrot or that dog or whatever the animal has slight injuries, such as bruising itself, starting to pull its feathers due to separation anxiety, I'm like, now we're moving up the scale of intensity, okay? One of the worst things you can do, let's think about this across the board. Sylvia says excessive licking in dogs, and Daphne says loss of appetite. I've worked with dogs here that would not defecate or urinate for hours, would not eat, would not drink. The last place I want to take your dog for separation anxiety is here, because it's going to watch you walk out the door, and those behaviors are going to skyrocket depending on the level of intensity. And there's your intermittent schedule of reinforcement, is it happens once in a while. Somewhere I was going with this. When we were talking about parrots. Oh, I know. Okay, so one of the worst things you can do with separation anxiety and is one of the worst things you can do is crate them and walk away, because it shows that animal, I have no choice, I'm trapped, I cannot get to you. Things I look for are broken teeth. That case in Michigan, in Detroit, it was happening when she would leave. And she said she was advised to crate the dog while she was gone. And I was like, oh dear, okay. I was like, show me the crate. And so she showed me, and I was like, show me your dog's teeth. And a lot of its teeth were broken. And then I said, so what happened when you crated, what happened to this crate? She goes, well, he destroyed it. And I said, then what did you do? She goes, well, I went out and bought one of those dog proof crates where they can't destroy it. And I was like, so you're changing behavior, all right. What you're doing is reinforcing the separation anxiety. You're not modifying the behavior issue in the direction that you want it to go. That was the one where I said, that's not the dog you should be concerned about. It's this one, the one that's breaking its teeth and escaping, jumping out the windows. Okay, so we talked about some things what not to do, okay? The worst thing you can do if a dog is severely attached to me, high case of separation anxiety, one of the worst things you can do is stick it in a crate and walk out the door. And with me saying that, what are we doing with the birds? I don't care. I don't care what size its cage is. It's still a cage. And what are we doing with birds? Sticking them in the cage and walking out the door. Some things, let's talk about different things that cause this. It could be, and this is Rocky. I don't know anything about Rocky's past, but I can tell more about his past. Tickle! That's Rocky, not that one. That one. See you later. I can tell Rocky's behaviors don't lie. They tell me when I could finally touch Rocky, I was like, this bird is, I bet I would put money down, is used to being sat and cuddled for long periods of time. That is one of, do I do that with Rocky? Yeah. I just make sure behaviors stay balanced. It's all about balance. Hang on, just want to check real quick. Sandy just texted me. Yes. So Sandy's getting ready to come in, and I could tell because the dogs are at the door. This is why people say when you bring in an animal, everybody coddles and ogles over the animal. And you see this a lot in rescue and shelter animals. Then after the first week, the dog or the bird or the cat or the bunny, whatever, is old news. Time to get back to work. Well, that animal is just like, hey, you've been sitting here petting me nonstop for the past week. Well, why are you leaving? They may not understand what your life is like. So some precautions to look for are pacing, behaviors labeled as frantic. Behaviors where you would say the dog does it for, or the animal does it for no reason. No, there's a reason. There's a reason. I would look to self-injurious behaviors, excessive licking, drooling, barking, screaming, feather destructive behaviors. The animal is injuring itself. Small amounts of injury, I would pay very close attention to that, because it's going to turn into more. Anyways, hey, Sandy. Anyways, what I was going to say is we're talking about this right now in our level 1 and level 2 membership programs. Something else I want to say is you'll see these behaviors a lot in shelter animals. And the animal is adopted out. It's at a home for so long before the behavior issues start rising. The animal is returned to the shelter, okay? So the animal's like, well, I had a home for about a month. Now I'm back at the shelter. Separation anxiety is likely to build. And then, okay, gets another adopter in about another 4 or 5 months, goes home 2 to 3 months, boom, behavior issues aren't dealt with, animal comes back. If animals have separation anxiety, the shelters or the adopters need to tell the people this. The people need to know what they're getting into. And like I said, it's not that it's hard. It just depends on the level of intensity. It takes time, focus, attention. And they need to send the adopters with a plan of action and reputable people who can help them with those behavior issues. Otherwise, separation anxiety not only causes severe amounts of stress for the animal, it causes severe amounts of stress for the caretaker, for the caretakers. This animal screams nonstop or barks nonstop when I leave, but the rest of my family is sitting in the house trying to watch TV. It gets to the point where the people say, get rid of that dog or that bird. You know, those other people. The vocalizations is what cued me to that. It's very stressful for other people in the house, and it's not fair for them, because if I have an attacking, lunging cockatoo that screams nonstop when I go to work, somebody else has to care for that animal when I'm at work. That's not fair to the rest of the people in the family. These shelters and rescues need to be sending home education, proper, appropriate education for the people so they know how to deal with this and who to contact. Robert says, and that is why I wish you and your program had been around when Daisy's issues started. I may have been able to head her off at the pass. Barbara, you can still work with this. What you are dealing with is a longer history of reinforcement. So it's going to take some time, and this is very detailed and unique to each individual. It is not a cookie cutter, one plan fits all. It is not a cookie cutter, one medication fits all. Not at all. So with that being said, it brings us to the end of our program. If you guys would like to know more about our services, you can go to our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. You can see in the 2 on the left, we are talking about separation anxiety, level 1, level 2. Level 1 is for companion animals. Level 2 is people who want to understand applied behavior analysis a little more intense. And a little more frequently. On the right are species specific, the pig project and the parrot project, and a lot of times our memberships and our projects go hand in hand. Something else to let you know, there's only 7 seats left in our upcoming workshop with myself and Dr. Deb Jones. It's a two-day all species animal training and behavior workshop focusing on using applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement and understanding at all levels with numerous different species of animals. This workshop is very interactive and engaging. 7 seats left, and that is a little over 2 months. So with that being said, thanks, Daphne. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and be sure to sign up, turn on your notifications, and sign up so you get notified every time we go live, not to miss a post or an episode. You also want to sign up for our email newsletter, where you can click on it right to your left, so you don't miss some of the training. We send out videos. We try to send it out every 2 weeks. For more information, you can always contact me at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com, and my personal email address is laura@theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. All right, thanks everybody. Susie says, important topic. Thank you. Yes, Jude, I will see you next weekend. And Beth says, wish these were required viewing for all potential bird buyers. You know what's really cool, Beth, is, and I want to give a huge shout out to those that require adopters of parrots to be a member of the Parrot Project, because now I've got you for a year after you adopt your animal, and there for your continued guidance. All right, guys, I will see you next weekend in Utah. All right, happy Sunday, everybody.